Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon missions. This is vk3sl. These are test missions or programs or meanderings or missives, and they fill a space. It's a corona stopgap, and we do it every afternoon. Been doing it since the beginning of the first lockdown. So it's starting to hold its own a little bit, and I'm thankful that there is a space in the band which allows me to play around. Play in the sandpit is what I say. It's a form of juvenile delinquency, really. But it is enduring, and we will keep going because it fills this gap, and it's a form of expression and all those things. I'm trying to justify myself here, and we all know what that means. It means that I'm saying absolutely nothing. Anyhow, having got all that off my chest, I have to say also that we are streaming online. So there's an online stream, and it's a bit slow today. I've been mucking around with it, and the levels are quite down, and I'm not sure why. There's two streaming services, and I had them calibrated, but for some reason the main YouTube online service is quite low in level today. Often is the opposite. Often it's I have to temper it, but anyhow, I'll have to check in on that one, find out what's going on. So some investigation may ensue. What else can I tell you? Oh yes, there's a blogspot page as well, vk3sl.blogspot.com, and that's the go-to place if you want to find out about the station and about this pathology, this madness that besets me as I do this each day. What else? Oh yes, tonight we have our big missions tonight. That's where it really happens. That's the big... the main form of expression, missions expression, collection expression, and Frank and I will be heralding something after about midnight, or I'll usually usher Frank in about 12:30. Gives me a chance to sort of wind up the gramophone and sharpen the needles and work out what's on the list and make sure that everything is humming along nicely. So yeah, we'll be doing our usual missives from that time. So do tune in then, because that's when it's much more interesting when there's two people. And Frank and I will be nattering on about something, and we'll have some good music to entertain or not entertain, depending on what platform you're listening on. So there we go. That's my preamble. And we'll fade out Mr. Furtwängler and our usual Beethoven starting music. And I'm pleased to say that there is something really amazing that came up online today. This is really special. And it's a recording of Don Redman and his orchestra with the Black Bing Crosby, Harlan Lattimore. It's a series of recordings. In fact, I think it's pretty much his entire opus on Brunswick, made in between about 1930 and 1932, that period. And Harlan Lattimore is just such a great singer. And it's a pity he didn't make more records. He's really just as good as Bing in many respects. Very similar voice, you'll hear. But his recordings with Don Redman are legendary. And Prozuit's done a remastering. He put this up about 6 months ago, and he's since come back with a new set of remastered transfers. And what he's done, I don't know. They sound tremendous. They sound really good. They sound so alive. He's done them possibly by ear. Maybe he's used some intelligent EQ. I'm not sure, but the music is just so compelling. I had a bit of a listen at work today. They popped up this morning. So very happy to use this as missions fodder. And what makes it extra special is the fact that these are Don Redman's recordings. This is really the birth of swing music. Don Redman was a remarkable dance band leader, and he had a real vision. And his arrangements were the first to really sort of pit sections of the swing orchestra off against each other and use a harmonic. He sort of had the orchestra play in harmony with the vocalists, so that they, without too much doubling, so you get this really rich textures. And that call and response thing is very much a Don Redman aspect, which sort of informed the swing era and that driving four and a bar rhythm as well. So there are a lot of sort of swing antecedents in these performances, but they are so rich and they're so vital, and the energy is just amazing. The musicianship is incredible, and these would have to be some of the very best recordings made in the 1930s, and they're out there and they're in hi-fi, which is just wonderful. So do have a listen to this. It's worth hearing. They are all great, every one of them. And they go for 50 minutes, which gives me a chance to think up something else. So I'll work out what we'll do next, maybe an OTR offering or something. We won't have a lot of time left after 50 minutes. But let's continue. Let's have a listen to the music of Don Redman's orchestra with vocals by Harlan Lattimore. Recordings made in the early 1930s, and I'm vk3sl. Testing.
Held her hand and stole a kiss. We had it just begun. Oh, gee, ain't I the lucky one? We did this and we did that. We did it all in fun. Oh, gee, ain't I the lucky one? She didn't say yes and she didn't say no. But then I'll confess, she's not a bit slow. She introduced me to the folks, and Daddy called me son. Oh, gee, ain't I all the lucky one? ladies walk along with rhythm in their thighs, rhythm in their feet and in their lips and in their eyes. Where do high browns find the kind of love that satisfies? Underneath the Harlem moon. There's no fields of cotton, picking cotton is taboo. They don't live in cabins like the old folks used to do. Their cabin is a penthouse up on Lenox Avenue, underneath that Harlem moon. Why, they just live on dancing. They're never blue or forlorn, 'cause it ain't no sin to laugh and grin. That's why darkies were born. Oh, they shout hallelujah every time they're feeling low. Every chic is dressed up like a Georgia gigolo. You may call it madness, but they call it hidey-ho, underneath the Harlem moon. The moon, the stars, the mountains and the sky, but still I sit and cry. Truthfully, you gave me everything but love. You gave me the light, the breeze, the song the birdies sing, the summer and the spring. How willingly you gave me everything but love. You put a show on right from the start. You'd let me go on playing the part of a little fool at heart. You gave me your arms, your lips, what did you have to lose? Then left me with the blues. Can't you see you gave me everything but love? a summer sea. Beneath those starlit skies, love is calling me back to the pagan paradise. Palm trees gently sway, I see a pale moon rise, then in dreams I stray back to a pagan paradise. I see someone strolling with no one, waiting for the moonbeams play. Where love started, the night we parted, I said I'd come back someday. There in dreams I be, though fate between us lies, love keeps calling me back to a pagan paradise. I see someone strolling with no one, waiting for the moonbeams play. Where love started, the night we parted, I said I'd come back someday. There I'd gladly be, though fate between us lies, love keeps calling me back to the pagan paradise. If it's true that there's someone else as perfect, dear, as you, then some other boy's in my condition too, dreaming all the day through, dreams of you. And if it's true that there's someone else with lips and eyes of blue, then he longs for her the way I long for you, hoping all the day through. For although he's kind, he may find that she's in love with another. And if it's true, and she tells him that the whole affair is through, I'm just wondering if you'll treat me that way too. I'll be blue if it's true. And if it's true, and she tells him that the whole affair is through, I'm just wondering if you'll treat me that way too. I'll be blue if it's true. Picture me upon your knee with tea for two and two for tea. Just me and you and me alone. Nobody near us to see or to hear us. No friends or relations or weekend vacations. Won't have to know we have a telephone, dear. Day will break, you'll awake. Start to bake a little sugar cake for me to take to all the boys to see. We will raise a family, a boy for you and a girl for me. Can't you see how happy we will be? my streets are paved with gold. I found myself a new kind of gal. She's mine to have and hold. I'm in my glory when she's around. Taught me a new way to go to town. I'm high, I'm low. There's a good gal to break me. No gal can shake me until I let her go. I play to win the game of romance with high cards in my hand. But I've been trumped with an ace of hearts. That feeling's oh so grand. There's nothing now that can bring me down. I found a new way to go to town. Feeling low, 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 oh, low. A melody brought you to me. Such harmony was new to me. But then suddenly there came a minor strain. Will I ever hear my song again? Gee, I hate to sing a sad, sad song of woe. But how can I hidey high when I feel so low, low, low? 'Cause when you're not here with me, dear, the time goes by so slow. But how can I hidey high when I feel so low, low, low? I know the world is tired of moaning, and I'd stop it if I could. But when you've got a heart that's moaning, then hidey high's no good. If you just could be here with me, there'd be no song of woe. But how can I hidey high when I feel so low, low, low? I can't sing a song when my soul is torn. I can't go on when I'm tired and worn. I know that I can't stop that river flow. I can't hidey high when I'm feeling low. wanna be loved with inspiration. I wanna be loved starting tonight. Instead of merely holding conversation, hold me tight. I wanna be loved. I crave affection. Those kisses of yours I'd gladly share. I want your eyes to shine in my direction. Make me care. I want the kind of romance that should be strong and equally as tender. I only ask for the chance to know the meaning of the word surrender. I want to be thrilled by only you, dear. I want to be thrilled by your caress. I want to find each dream of mine come true, dear. I want to be loved. I sigh and cry, I laugh and grin. I must admit I'm getting thin. It's all your fault, so I'm putting the blame on you. Can't eat or sleep, I don't feel right. I walk the street from morn to night. It's all your fault, so I'm putting the blame on you. Really think I've lost my mind. Talking to myself I find, because you treat me so unkind. What am I to do? A crazy nut I'm doomed to be, because you won't be nice to me. It's all your fault, so I'm putting the blame on you.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
sleeping in the sun. How you expect to get your day's work done? Never get your day's work done. Sleeping in the noonday sun. Oh, lazy bones, sleeping in the shade. How you expect to get your cornmeal made? Never get your cornmeal made. Sleeping in that evening shade. When taters need spraying, I bet you keep praying the bugs fall off of the vine. And when you go fishing, I bet you keep wishing the fish won't grab at your line. Oh, you lazy bones, loafing through the day. How you expect to make a dime that way? Never make a dime that way. You never heard a word I say. That blue-eyed baby from Memphis has all the boys up a tree. That southern lady from Memphis is just as modest as can be. She'll let you hold a hand, she'll tease you all she can, she'll neck a little bit, but she knows when to quit. That blue-eyed baby from Memphis is just the baby for me. the story. Why didn't you tell me? Oh, you told me that love was a sweet romance. I didn't know I'd be taking a chance. You told me of sunshine without the rain. You told me of gladness without the pain. And you see, you told me but half of the story. But my heart has learned it all. You know why I'm weary, you know why I'm blue. It's because my sweetheart left me here alone with you. But cabin, I still love you,
Is a test
and
transmission
I'm positive you
vk3sl.
know that I wouldn't leave your doorstep if I didn't feel so low. Lonely cabin, my heart sighs, my heart cries, what is there for me to do? Lonely cabin, I must find her, but I can't depend on you. So I'm leaving lonely cabin, and you know the reason why. It's to search this universe to find the girl I love. When the dark night starts to fall in and the moon starts to roll, what is this thing that keeps calling? It's the South in my soul. How I long for the Delta. It's my home, it's my goal. Wanna be safe in its shelter. Got the South in my soul. Too long I've lingered in the darkness. No matter what I've won, I want to say goodbye to darkness and spend all my days in the sun. Why don't you let me lie on the levee? Let me burn black as coal. I know my heart won't be heavy with the South in my soul. My heart won't be heavy with the South in my soul. Yes, I heard, and it wasn't told to me, I only heard. How I heard, yes, I heard, and it wasn't buzzed to me, I only heard. Now she said that he said that she didn't know where she got it, but he said that she said the law was gonna stop it, but I heard, yes, I heard, and it wasn't told to me, I only heard.
Rachel, I heard some things around in the neighborhood the other day. But you know, Liza, you know, you've been knowing Liza a long time.
Yes.
And see, you know, I've never been a girl to talk much. Of course, you're a close neighbor of mine and a good friend and church worker of mine, but I don't like to say much. But I'll tell you something, you know. She said she couldn't hear so well. She says things were very quiet.
Yes.
And she said if it ever got out, says, Lord sakes, it'd be a terrible ride. But listen now, Rachel. Don't go out and say that Liza said anything, will you? Because I was doing this in little eavesdroppers. I only heard about it.
This is vk3sl Test Missions on 160. We've been listening to the music of Don Redman's orchestra with Harlan Lattimore, the Black Bing Crosby. It's pretty much most of his corpus there in that 50-minute selection. There are a few others. Sadly, he's a remarkable talent, but it just didn't endure. He had personal problems and narcotic problems and things, and sadly, it didn't happen. There was an attempted comeback with Mr. Lattimore in the 40s, but again, it didn't take off. But he lived until 1980, I think. Now, they're just the most amazing arrangements. When you listen to Don Redman, you just realise there's so much sophistication in that writing. And the way he used call and response patterns and pitted the reeds and the brass soft against each other. And, it's really effective. And it's sort of preempted swing in many respects, driving rhythms and that level of sophistication. So, that harmonic textures underneath the vocals, it's wonderful. Everything about those arrangements rings true, and it's forward-looking and incredibly important historically. But I find them very compelling. So that was a good find. That happens to be the latest from Mr. Prozoot. He has put that up before, but this is another attempt at revitalising the recording with a good transfer and EQ. These are Test Missions on 160, and we are also streaming online. So I alert you to the streaming service on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel under my call sign. If you feel inclined, if you wish to be entertained, go and have a listen there. I've sorted out the volume levels now, worked out the problems there. All right, we'll continue now, and with some more light music. And what do we have? A recording. This is from the Mr. H archive, and these a series of light music, or the chapel discs and light music recordings. And I think he's got about 80 of them he's put up, so I'm going to exploit that and feature one each night if I can, or thereabouts. And we're going to listen to the music of Ronald Hammer, and one of the most listened to pieces of music on all Australian radio history, and that is the theme from Blue Hills. And this was a recording made by Sydney Torch, and was made in 1947, I think it was. It was, issued by Francis and Day. Anyhow, let's have a listen to the Blue Hills melody. What was it actually called? Pastoral, that's right. And the story of light music. This is VK3SL testing.
Good morning, everyone. This is the BBC Light Programme on wavelengths of 1,500 and 261 metres. It's the first time we've said those words, BBC Light Programme, which we hope are going to mean for you now and in the days to come all that is best in radio entertainment from 9 o'clock in the morning to midnight.
How sweet is that? The Pastoral by Ronald Habner, recorded in 1947 with the Sydney Torch Orchestra, I think. So there we go. Blue Hills by Gwen Meredith. And I remember that as a young kid being on the wireless set, sitting on the kitchen bench. And yes, I was very young, but it does strike a chord with me. Well, Queenie Ashton. Let's see if we've got... It'd be great if we could find an episode of Blue Hills. Country Hour on Blue Hills is something... 70 years of ABC Rural. We might be able to feature this. We'll see what happens here. I'll just sample this one and then bring it up because it may be good missions fodder. You never know. It's all very spontaneous, and while I'm sorting this out, just a quick word that late tonight at 11:30 we begin our late night show. Well, it's not really a show, is it? It's just an expression of sorts, or a test. It is a test. Absolutely, it's a test. Tone tests. And we start at 11:30, and I'll be sort of cranking up the gramophone, and then at 12:30ish, we'll bring in Frank. Oh, in my in the bit before Frank comes on, I'm going to be featuring some more Jacob Collier. There is the most amazing thing that popped up this week. We sampled it on this afternoon missions a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago. That was his improvisations on Danny Boy. And I'm definitely going to play that again because it is completely wondrous. It's amazing what he does and the way he channels all of these emotional states, and he's so articulate, and it's so involving, and it's everything that music should be, and natural expression and spontaneous expression. So we'll hear that tonight, and we've got a very good theme. Frank's just emailed me with a theme for tonight. I'm happy it works this way because I can never quite get sorted, and I think Frank can read my mind. It's a really, really interesting theme. So I'm looking forward to exploring that later on. So I suggest you tune in. 11:30. All right, we're sorting things out here, and I've nearly got this ready to go. I'm looking up the history file as I speak. 70 years of ABC Rural Part 2, The Country Hour and Blue Hills. Well, let's have a listen to this and see if it provides any more information.
The Country Hour remains as ever a daily midday ritual. In places, radio is still the only immediate link to the outside world.
It's been a very good start to the morning, and getting really excited about jumping in the truck and heading down to Panawanika for the rodeo tomorrow. There are huge swathes of this place that, you don't get a broadband signal, you don't get a mobile signal, and that takes a lot of people by surprise who sit there with their iPads and the TV and are consuming media from multiple sources, at the same time. But, that's the way it still rolls out here a lot of the time.
In a horticultural area this size, we expect to run into many problems, and I think this tree is a good example of one of our problems.
In the early years, the Rural Department unashamedly set out to use broadcasting to increase primary production.
It was a bit like trying to make two blades of grass grow where one grew before, because there was a great need after the war to increase production.
Say, Ray, I see you've been in the Army.
Oh, yes, I haven't. Not very long out of the Army. I was in Wewak with the 2nd 10 Commando Squadron.
Commando Squadron. Well, that's a very good training.
In the early 1950s, the ABC started placing rural reporters in radio stations across regional Australia. And so began the tradition of broadcasting local stories to local audiences.
Probably, I suppose, 95% of the interviews we were broadcasting were interviews that we obtained by going out. You really got the I suppose it's authenticity. You were there, and you usually spend some time going around before the interview, looking at the property, talking about the things that might come up, what he was doing that was worthwhile and very different.
The Rural Department broke some of the big stories in Australian history. In 1951, Graham White of the Victorian Country Hour got a scoop, news of a revolutionary measure to combat the menace of rabbits.
Farmers and scientists are searching for new ways of killing rabbits. These vermin, although thought by many city people to be rather cute, are perhaps the greatest pests in the world. It's been estimated that if Australia were free from rabbits, we could keep more than 100 million more sheep.
I grew up where of a morning you'd go out and half the wheat crops and oat crops and barley crops were eaten out by literally millions of rabbits.
The symptoms are very easily recognised.
The brilliant chief of the CSIRO, Sir Ian Clunies-Ross, told White some big news.
We're going to release the myxoma virus. It'll become known as myxomatosis. We are confident it will prevent this country from being further eaten out, as the country was being eaten out by the rabbit problem.
Depends largely on the man on the land.
Myxomatosis would soon rank among the most successful biological controls in world history. The virus changed the fortunes of farmers and helped restore the ecology of a denuded continent.
This is the ABC. You're listening to the Country Hour.
Graham White was later involved in a controversy. He explained to Landline 20 years ago he accidentally overheard a conversation about a major fraud at the Melbourne markets.
It went something like this. I paid 10 bob for some cases, some went to 15. The best of them sold for £2. Let's tell the ABC 10 bob. I suddenly realised that the information that we were being given was not accurate information at all.
So the growers thought they were getting 10 bob, and
they heard the ABC say 10 bob a case. That's what they expected to be paid, and that's what they were paid. The fact that their produce might have sold for 3 times, 4 times, that was beside the point.
So it was a racket. We were threatening.
A real racket. And then a fellow who was buying for the Snowy Mountains Authority, this was the time of building of the Great Snowy Mountains project, he saw me and he said, look, the prices you're broadcasting aren't right. I'll give you the correct prices. I'll tell you what I pay for tons of potatoes every day and so on. Well, it's beside the point, but it was part of the story that this man lasted a week and then said to me, I can't give you the prices anymore. They shut him up. And then they put a knife in my stomach and told me that if I didn't broadcast the prices I was officially given, I'd be bailed out of the bottom of Port Phillip Bay.
The ABC presents episode 5000 of Blue Hills by Gwen Meredith. It's the day of Granny's 90th birthday, and there's been a great deal of excitement. Typically, Ed doesn't approve of anniversaries. But meanwhile, back in Dunvegan, Meg and Jim review the day's proceedings with Granny.
Blue Hills was popular everywhere, but extremely popular with women. Hilda or Nellie Lamport, Emmy and so on. They were household names.
Blue Hills, set in a fictional Australian country town, ran for 27 years and almost 6,000 episodes, all from one scriptwriter.
I'm as certain of it as one can be certain of anything where Mother is concerned.
I think with Blue Hills and Gwen Meredith's superb ability as a scriptwriter, as a dramatist and all that sort of thing, that helped keep the country hour together. But I think it really was an important part or a source of information.
Jack will be here very soon, I think, Fleur. Yes.
These were far more than mere rural soap operas.
I suppose he's told you that.
John Douglas had a very large input to Gwen Meredith about what he wanted highlighted, and he didn't want bull. He wanted the real thing highlighted. So if there was a problem with some type of parasite in cattle in Queensland, he'd get her to feature that, and with the way the remedy functioned.
Oh, whatever will Hilda say? For my clothes.
And of course, she put a lot of farming information into it. And in the very early days, we used to feed her with the actual information that was topical to the farming calendar.
There we go. That's from the ABC vaults, and some great footage there of all the buyers in motion and the old ABC equipment. Making, I didn't realise there was any footage of them recording Blue Hills. Well, I found a couple of episodes. We'll put something like that on, I think. Let's have a Blue Hills session. And again, courtesy of Mr. H, well, here, well, I think it'll speak for itself. It's a part of an episode and something else. But vk3sl, testing.
on side 2 of Blue Hills Revisited, episodes 4,914 to 4,917, broadcast from May the 29th to June the 1st, 1972. Before that, however, Tim Bowden spoke to writer Gwen Meredith about the development of various characters in the serial.
We've had drama, certainly, but I've always tried also to have some comedy. I don't mean slapstick, or even I suppose we've had a bit of slapstick too, but humour. I think this is most essential. I think people want to laugh. They certainly want to have a bit of a cliffhanger now and then, but generally speaking, they want to feel in sympathy with the characters. This is it. And they're more interested in whether Ed's going to get his hot water bottle or than whether his house falls down often, you know, because it depends on the attitudes you take about this. People like these difficult characters. Now, Ed is a very trying person, but as I had a letter the other day and they said, isn't he dreadful? Always reminds me of my brother-in-law. And you see, people like these kind of characters.
They're really going.
Now, Rose.
Now, Rose, my dear, what is there to be so sad about? Oh. Come along now.
It's saying goodbye, Granny.
Dear.
Poor little Fleur. Poor child. She'll have to build a whole new life.
Well, I have to build a whole new kitchen.
Yes, well, one thing I've always admired about you, Ed, is your sense of proportion.
Well, really, Mother.
They all disliked Fleur thoroughly. I've only ever had one person write to me that they liked Fleur. No, they really, I'm afraid, they do not like her. But they say, we don't like her, but we know someone just like her.
Of the letters that I saw, it seemed to me at least 95%, possibly even more, were from women. Did you find that you were writing for women mostly?
I've never done this especially because I know, although some of them won't admit it, that the men come in for lunch too to hear it. I was only speaking to someone locally here last night, and they said to me, I don't know what my uncle's going to do. He's trained a dog especially to bring in the cows so that he can get home to listen to it.
One woman wrote in, when it was announced Blue Hills was to finish, should Blue Hills die, it will be like a tragic bus accident, which wipes out a lot of family friends all at once. That is how real Blue Hills is to me. When you hear things like that, how does it affect you?
The letters I've had have made me feel very humble. As a matter of fact, some of them have made me feel that I should have gone on till I died in my boots.
But I think most people would agree that that's unreasonable, surely.
Oh, yes, well, of course they do. Most of them are saying, we don't know what we're going to do without it, but we do realise that, you know, you've got to give it up sometime. You must be tired, you deserve a rest, and thank you and God bless you. They've been delightful. They really have.
Has Blue Hills been ever a monster for you?
No. If it had been a monster, I'd have given it away.
Do you think your life might have taken a different course, though, if you hadn't been doing it?
I think that when you have an instinct to write, you have to write, even if you put it in your bottom drawer. So that if I hadn't written Blue Hills, I would almost certainly have written something else. I think I've been my very great good fortune that I've had the opportunity of writing it.
And ours for being able to listen to it. Here now is episode 4,914.
The ABC presents Blue Hills by Gwen Meredith. Fleur returned unexpectedly to High Valley and was bitterly angry at finding Annette Parker in her house. Both Bella and Annette let Jack know of her return, and he went home at once. It was anything but a loving reunion, Jack's attitude hardening more and more as Fleur continued to rail about Annette.
Look, Fleur,
I'm willing to let bygones be bygones.
It's impossible to forget things.
Well, you can concentrate on remembering the good things rather than the bad. And we'll have to do that if we hope to make a go of things. So what about it?
You're sliding out of what's happened very conveniently, aren't you? I'm just to forget about Annette Parker, am I?
Well, I have a few things to forget, too.
Very different kinds of things. And in any case, I was quite justified in leaving here and going home to Mum. I was miserable. And nobody here cared what happened to me, or how I felt, or anything.
That's not true, of course.
It's perfectly true. Did you really care how I felt about not being able to have a baby?
Of course I cared. But you're not the first girl in the world that's happened to. The intelligent thing is to make the best of it. If we built up a good life together, we'd be able to adopt children. Going on as we are, no one in their senses would ever allow us to.
But I wanted my own children.
So did I. But nobody gets everything they want in this life. I also wanted a nice, cheerful wife with a bit of guts, who made the best of things. And I certainly haven't got that.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. But honestly, Fleur, you'll have to get a proper slant on yourself. Well, the whole world isn't here for your benefit. Doesn't owe you anything. Compared with some of the people in the world today, we have it so easy you might say it's downright indecent. But you go on as though you're one of the have-nots.
Well, I haven't got what I wanted.
You've got a lot of other things, though. You've got a home, a family, and enough to eat. And the chance of making a good life if you're prepared to do it. I simply cannot understand the way you've changed.
I haven't changed. Or only because I've been miserable.
They say disappointment brings out the best or the worst in people, and certainly brought out the worst in you.
Well, you haven't shown up too well either. I'm away hardly any time and you get involved with some woman. And don't tell me that you're in love with her.
Annette and I are very good friends.
I'll bet you're a lot more than that.
Fleur, I'm not going to discuss Annette now or at any time in the future.
You can say a thing like that and still blame me for leaving you and going home.
I hadn't said anything like that then.
Well, you said plenty of other things. And without even consulting me, you went to work for old Davy Chalmers. I'll never get over that.
What on earth's wrong with working for old Davy? It's a jolly good job. And a great help right now.
It's demeaning. Gray's still working on your own property, and you go out and work for somebody else. And a neighbour at that.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses? Or have you got delusions of grandeur or what? Look, we may as well get this quite straight. If you're coming back here, it's going to be on my terms, Fleur. We're not going to Sydney. I'm going to keep on working for old Davy Chalmers for just as long as he wants me. And when I'm not working for him, I'll be doing what I can to help Dad and Gray to get the place on a profitable basis again. And we won't be going to Coomera or to Canberra to dances.
We never did.
Well, maybe not much, but we'll be going less than we used to. We'll have our noses down, all of us. We've got a comfortable home, and we'll eat 3 meals a day. But for the time being, that will be it.
I expect, really, you'd be glad if I decided not to come back. That's obviously what you're trying to do. Put me off.
I'm trying to be honest. And I want you to know exactly where we both stand. I'm not putting up with any more nonsense, Fleur.
Nonsense?
Yes, nonsense. We've struck bad times. And I want a wife who's going to pull her weight to help us get through them.
So you expect me to come back here and do nothing but cook and wash up and clean the house and wash your working clothes?
That's what Penny's doing. Bella, too, for that matter. Even though Dave's in a far better position than we are.
Penny and Bella don't want to do anything else. Anyway, they both have children to interest them.
Oh, Lord. Are we ever going to get past that stumbling block?
You were sorry once. You understood how I felt. But now you don't care.
Oh, look, I do care. I'm fond of kids. I'd like to have children of my own, but I'm not going to let it ruin my life. Well, look, I do understand how you feel, but it isn't the only thing in life. Come back. Try and put your heart into other things. I'm willing to help you, honest I am. And so is everybody else.
Oh, they're not really. Bella and I were friends once when we were at school and afterwards, but not anymore. Well, she's taken your side.
Why do there have to be sides? We could all be such a good family unit.
Well, you don't feel part of my family.
I haven't seen so much of them. But I can tell you, if I was to live on the same property with them, I'd make a point of batting in. Anyway, it's not the family. It's us. We're the ones who have to make a go of things. And I'm willing to try if you are.
I'll think about it.
Where are you aiming to stay while you think?
Stay? Here.
Oh, I see. So you're coming back. You're coming back anyway, but you'll consider whether you're going to try and make it work. Well, I suppose I'll just have to leave it at that. But remember what I said about working for old Davy and all the rest of it. I meant it. And I'm not going back on it. And tears aren't going to make any difference to my decision either.
You've changed. You've got harder and harder. I expect it's that Parker girl.
Maybe we've both changed.
This is a test transmission.
This is my life,
vk3sl.
You were willing enough to share it when we decided to get married. If you come back to me, you'll have to go on sharing it. And Fleur, I'd be glad if you made up your mind within a reasonable time. I want to know where I stand.
So that you can tell Annette Parker, I suppose.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm going back out on the job now. While you think. I hope you'll have your mind made up by the time I get back this evening.
You don't care, do you? Whether I come back or not.
I'm not going to beg you to, if that's what you mean. It's up to you.
Well, you'd never have taken this attitude once.
No, I don't suppose I would. But it might have been better if I had. I'll push off now.
And not back to work either. To see Annette Parker. I know.
Look. If we decide to try and make a go of things, I'll stand by my side of it. I won't see Annette again. In the meantime, we don't discuss her. So long. I'll be back at dark.
You'd better put off your dinner with Annette Parker. I'm not going to have her here.
I'm quite sure she wouldn't want to come. Incidentally, I see your father's car outside. I take it they know you're here.
No.
Oh, for crying out... You mean you just lit out without letting them know?
I was upset.
I'm not as upset as they are by now, I'll bet. You better ring them right away. Let them know where you are and that you're okay. Oh, honestly, your mother's probably in a fever.
I must say, Jim, it's a great relief to know that Fleur's all right.
It's also a jolly good thing that she's gone back to the valley, I think.
Oh, if we can depend on her staying there.
Oh, surely. Now that she's made the initial move, Meg.
Oh, Jim, I don't know what to think anymore where Fleur's concerned. But I do know that Jack's generous. When he realises that Fleur's made the first move and gone back, I'm sure he'll meet her more than halfway. Just so long as this Annette Parker business doesn't interfere in any way.
Oh, I don't think there was much to that, Meg.
Oh, now, Jim, you're just saying that. Mrs. Parker wouldn't have rung me if she wasn't worried about it.
No, I suppose not. Still, no use jumping your hurdles till you get to 'em, Meg. Personally, I think there'll be a reconciliation and that'll be the end of all the trouble.
I just hope you're right. It was good of Rose to ring so promptly, wasn't it, Jim?
You knew you could depend on Rose, my dear.
Yes, yes. And with Mother there, too, of course.
Granny's had a trip for nothing.
Yeah, a very expensive one, too. All the same, I think it was much better that Fleur went on her own than with Mother.
Oh, certainly. 100 times better this way. Oh, yes, Meg, it's worked out very well. We've a great deal to be thankful for.
Not before time. Oh, darling, I do hope it works out.
Oh, it will, Meg. I'm sure it will. The next thing we have to think about is how I get my car back.
Well, perhaps when Mother's ready to come home, Jack and Fleur will drive her. One of them could drive their own car, and then they could both go back in it.
In that case, I hope your mother doesn't want to stay too long with Rose and Ed. Going to be confoundedly awkward without a car.
Never mind, love. The main thing is that Fleur and Jack are together again.
And so ends today's episode of Blue Hills by Gwen Meredith.
Would Jack and Fleur ever get back together again? The saga of their shaky relationship continues in episode 4915.
Well, at that point, I will wind it and we'll come back. Maybe we'll hear the rest of that. I just realised that this is quite a long file. There is a couple of hours of Blue Hills, and looks like they explore a few themes, which is good, sort of provides some context. So maybe there is some future missions fodder, some Blue Hills fodder. So we'll fade out the pastoral, and what I'll do is give you a little bit of a teaser for tonight. Now this is what we could say an oblique reference, not oblique, but an oblique reference to a work we're going to listen to tonight. This is not the work, this is not the piece at all, but it's from the same opera. You didn't hear me say that. This is an amazing recording of Mr. Pavarotti without a beard, and a young Pavarotti. It's from a film made in 1964, and he is in full force, a young Pav. So I reckon we'll finish with this today. I think this will be our exit, and we will stand by for more missions later on tonight. I hope to have your company then. Meanwhile, let's listen to Pav. vk3sl testing.
Su quel seno non li va amore